that. Hey everybody, it's Adrian here, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd at Heart. I have a special guest here today who works with SCARAB CON. We're going to talk to him for a little bit, learn a little bit about him, and then learn a little bit more about SCARAB. John, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, it's me, Dr. Nick. No, hey everybody, it's me. I'm Jon Maness. I also go by the name of the Kobold Dude, for reasons. Let's see. Since I'm on Nerd at Heart, what do I nerd out about?
I'm going to bet it's kobolds.
It is kobolds, but it's also Transformers. I'm sitting in the Transformers corner of my comic book room, which I can't show you because it's in a complete mess, which it usually is around this time of year, for other reasons, which we will get into at some point. So my big things are Transformers, comic books, and of course, gaming. And by gaming, I mean tabletop role-playing games and board games.
So since you started with Transformers, let's talk with Transformers. By the way, I love your Scorponok behind you. You've got that Scorponok. I have one as well. I absolutely love it. And unfortunately, well, I say I have it. My kids have it. So he's still running around, clickety clacking of the claws, and back when they did, what was it called? The Headmasters. That's what it was called.
Yep.
And I remember that when that came out in the cartoon.
Oh yeah. So this guy's actually from the Titans Return series that came out a decade or so ago.
Oh, okay.
But this guy I got at my local comic shop actually several years ago, and in fact they have another copy of him there right now.
Really?
If you want, you just have to go to Scratch and Spin Comics in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay. Wow, there's another store. I didn't.
So they have him.
Okay.
And they have this one called Black Zarok, which is a recolor of him that's like in black and gold, and it's kind of
okay. Cool. Yeah, I see that. So how long have you been collecting those?
Well, I mean, there's obviously a point when you're too young you don't really collect the stuff. You just kind of your parents. It's like your parents go, here's a Winnie the Pooh. You like Winnie the Pooh now, and you're like, yay, I guess I like Winnie the Pooh now.
It's kind of like I have a toy, I just haven't thrown it away, so I have a collection.
Right.
So what's your oldest piece there, you think?
Oh gosh, it's somewhere up here on my G1 shelf up here. It's probably it's either an old G1 Bumblebee or I think I've got my first G1 Cliff Jumper figure.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember the original because the packaging and the way that they do the boxes back then, and I love seeing like there's this reemergence of retro toys. Not just Transformers, but like especially like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah,
He-Man. Masters of the Universe. It's kind of like what's old is new again.
Oh yeah, right. You're totally right. I saw Robo Force figures in the at Walmart the other day, and I was like, Robo Force. I think I was the only one who collected Robo Force when I was a kid.
I think so. Actually, you know what I'm excited about is for somebody to decide that GoBots needs to come back.
I mean, well, okay. It's funny you say that. Somewhere around here, I've got because GoBots is now rolled into the Transformers family of stuff. So every now and then they put out a repaint of somebody, and they go, hey, this is this character, and it's like, wait, that's a GoBot, and you look it up, and it's like, yeah, that's why they did that. So I've got I've actually got a series of ones that are
really
they're repaints of existing Transformers, but they're repainted to look like they're GoBot colors, and they're named those GoBots. They haven't put out like Leader 1 or anything like that yet.
I was trying to remember because the other day, what was it? We had a what is it? Toy and collectible thing expo here last weekend. Was it last weekend or the weekend before? I think it was the weekend before because the con was last weekend. So yeah, and I remember I was walking through there, and lo and behold, they had a GoBots base. You know, that little walking base, and I was just sitting there. I was like, I was absolutely stunned. I wanted it so badly, but I just could not bring myself to use any money.
The very few GoBots that I have that survived are probably way up on this shelf here, along with a couple Rock Lords that I've got.
Ooh, Rock Lords! I remember Rock Lords because they had the Rock Lord GoBot movie, and I used to love that movie.
I saw that. I think I saw that movie in the theater, and that was a waste of money right there.
Well, I tell you what, like, because I was thinking, like, which one did I had? I had the one character who I had the two-headed bad guy, and I can't remember. Cool. And I sat there and I went, I watched the whole movie hoping that he'll have a bunch of lines and be cool, and no, he wasn't. He was just background muscle.
He just shows up. He's like,
rawr, rawr, because he had two heads. Right. So that was another one. The other one that I always liked was Inhumanoids. Oh,
heck yeah!
Those are that had like one of the coolest intros ever. I used to show my son that. I mean, and I tell you what, like some of the stuff that happened in that series was quite dark.
Oh yeah,
especially for like the mid '80s.
Right. I loved that show, and I hated that I couldn't get any of the toys. So I had a lot of the whatever they're called, the Earth Core guys.
No, see, I had
I didn't have any of the monsters.
I had the tree, the trees, that would expand. And then who was the name of Magmar or something? The guy that had two parts. And it literally was the fiery half was the whole body. The rocky half was a shell that you had to pretend was something real.
that was Magnacore.
Magnacore, that's right. I knew it was Magna something.
Oh yeah, I was huge into Inhumanoids. I say huge was. I still kind of am. So every now and then I break out the weird little pirated DVD copy that I got, and I watch it and go, man, this show was so messed up. I loved it.
Okay, so going back to Transformers, and then we'll move on because I want to ask you about some of your other hobbies. What is your favorite Transformers series?
If you had asked me at a certain point, I would have said my favorite series was Beast, because Beast Wars got me back into it, and it brought in all the G1 stuff. I was like, oh man, I forgot how much I loved all this. But I do think the Transformers Prime series is really, really good, and a lot of people are sleeping on that, and I think that's a really good series to watch.
Okay,
that is
probably the newer series.
It's not the newer series. It's,
which one? Okay,
the newer one's like Earthspark, which you have to be a Star Trek fan to watch Earthspark, because it's on Paramount Plus.
Oh, okay. I thought it had something to do with Star Trek. You were right up my alley on that one.
Oh yeah, the Enterprise transforms into a giant robot. It's great.
It's like Spaceballs.
Ah, right. There you go.
The Mega Maid.
The Enterprise has gone from blow to suck.
There you go. Let's kind of get onto the tabletop role-playing thing. And and one of the things I actually wanted to talk to you about a lot is because I know about your, what we call it, an obsession with kobolds, because there's a particular game that you usually get attached to. Kobolds. What is it? A kobold ate my baby. Is that the name of it?
You're so close. You're so close.
It's darn.
It's kobolds.
I was
plural. Kobolds ate my baby.
Oh, it's because one couldn't eat your baby by itself, I guess.
Right.
Well, big baby, little kobolds.
Right.
There you go. Many mouths make light work.
Sure.
So could you kind of go into that a little bit? Tell us what the premise is,
Sure. In the game, you play these small orange furry creatures called kobolds. and it's based off of the old D&D first edition kobolds, where they were small, furry, rat-like creatures. Now they're like dragons, and they're super cool and stuff like that. And it's like, heck with that. These guys were small and furry, and so kobold. Let's see, kobold looks like this.
All right. So
hey, everybody. So this is what a kobold kind of looks like.
All right. Well, I didn't know we'd have somebody else on the show today.
My wife said you need to put this on the show too. Okay. So
Okay.
they're small, they're furry, they have a big mouth. Most of their heads made up of their mouth, which means they have very little brains. So they're usually very stupid and fearless. And one of the other jokes is they're the creatures that the adventurers go to kill so they can get it from level 1 to level 2. So because of this, they don't really care. They don't really have a concept of their own mortality. So in this game, you're playing these little fuzzballs of chaos. You're doing just random crazy stuff, and your characters are just dying left and right. So there's a built-in mechanic where it's just easy to just make a new kobold and jump back in. That's the basics of kobold.
That's the basics of it. So what is it about kobolds in particular that gets you excited about this particular game?
Because I come from a background of playing games where it's like everything was very serious. You're playing Dungeons and Dragons. You're trying to level up your character, make sure your inventory is a certain way, get the right build for all this stuff. And then, one day I went to a convention and it played the game Paranoia, which if you've never played Paranoia, you should totally play Paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
And the Paranoia, it's like, you're encouraged you're encouraged / forced into making horrible decisions. And then your character will die and a clone will come back. And that was like a big kind of mind-opening thing. So it's like, well, next time I run a convention game, I'm going to run D&D, but instead, why don't I just, instead of everybody playing like, elves and humans and stuff like that, I'll make everybody play like, what's the smallest, most weakest, pathetic creature I can get them to play. And it's like, kobolds. So I made just kobold characters. And like, after running that for a couple years in just various versions of Dungeons and Dragons, I eventually stumbled on 9th level games, Kobolds Ain't My Baby game, and I picked it up and I read it and I was like, did I write this? Because this seems like what I'm trying to do here. And I thought, like this has got to be the game for me right here. And I to the degree that even after I read it and forced my friends to play it and they enjoyed it, I forced them to enjoy it. And then every time I would bring that to a con, I would modify it a little bit more and be like, well, like, how can I make this character sheet a little bit more interactive and stuff like that? Next thing you know, I'm reaching out to like the folks at my little games. Like, look at this stuff I'm doing. And they're like, you are flipping out there. And I was like, and then I went, hey, would you? I was like, I mean, if you guys want to, I have a convention that I do in South Carolina. And I don't know, if you guys want to come, we'll put a booth together for you. And one of the head honchos there, Chris O'Neill, was like, he called me up. I'm driving home from Georgia after visiting my folks, and I pull up on the side of the road because it's like, I'm getting a call from who? I may pull over, People will have these stories where they're like, these older guys will have these stories where they're like, I used to get postcards from this guy named Gary who worked at TSR. Or I used to get letters from Gary Gygax at TSR and all this stuff. And I'm like, I got a call from Chris O'Neill at 9th Level Games, and I pulled over on the side of the road while I was driving home from like Thanksgiving or something like that. And he was like, yeah, I will come to your show. I feel like I have to come to your convention now. And that began my even closer relationship with 9th Level Games.
Yeah.
And they've put out several editions of the game since then.
Okay.
But very recently, like within the past year or two, they were like, we have this new system we created called the polymorph system, and we'd like to bring kobolds into that system that we've made.
Okay.
And we're gonna need some people to write on this. So they asked me and one other person to take the lead on writing.
Wow.
For the game. So when you get the new Kobolds Ain't My Baby, the orange edition, so called so because kobolds are orange and the cover of the book is orange.
Okay.
I am one of the co-writers on
That's awesome.
that edition of the game.
Wow.
As the other one of the other writers, Bug, will say, all the funny jokes are the ones I wrote.
All right. That's awesome, Dan. I mean, because I know how much you really like the game, so to finally get to be a part of that,
Oh yeah.
Must really feel great.
Oh, I'm still in shock. I'm still in that weird haze of like denial almost. Like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, that is my name on there. Holy crud, I did write that.
I've got a credit.
I got a credit. Yeah. Sometimes I'll read stuff from the book and I go, that's funny. Like, wait, I wrote that. I wrote that part. Oh yeah.
You've kind of become detached in a way,
Right.
Well,
Right.
and that book is available now for people to purchase.
Oh yeah, it's been out for maybe it's been out in print for about a year or so, maybe a little
Okay.
longer. You can also get it on places like Drive-Through RPG if you're not into the whole physical media.
No, that's really awesome. Man, that's cool. So, all right. Then on top of that, so what else do you, just kind of briefly to kind of give a little overview, what else do you play other than Kobolds Ate My Baby?
Well, it's a bit of a tricky question there, asking me what I play, because I'm one of these people who is always GMing games, so I
I see.
don't really get to play that much. But I am currently GMing a ongoing Old Gods of Appalachia role-playing game.
All right.
Uses the cipher system. That one's pretty crazy. And that can be further distanced from Kobolds Ain't My Baby.
Yeah.
Tried. But I really like the Renegade Games has a lot of Hasbro IPs, and so of their Essence 20 system games,
Yeah.
the two that I'm really into are the GI Joe one and the Transformers one.
Okay.
Those are both pretty neat, and I've got the Marvel role playing game book, the new one, and I'm dying to actually crack it open and read the first few chapters.
How often do you get to play? Well, or GM, I should say.
Unfortunately, it's maybe once a month if I'm lucky.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That's just because my schedule for the past, I don't know how many years now, I've been just crazy with a lot of stuff, but it's kind of slowed down some.
Okay.
So I should get to run more stuff, maybe even get to play a couple things. Who knows? I was contemplating trying to bring a few games to start up at our local gaming store here, Firefly Toys and Games.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just dropping plugs and stuff. There were names and things.
I'm sure they appreciate it. I think this is one of the things that really I've been kind of coming to terms with. People who have done role playing. Maybe if you remember in the 90s and prior, and I'd say even early 2000s and prior, it was still not a cool thing, and you had very limited material, it got more extensive by the 2000s, but man, looking at the bookshelf at a local role-playing group, I mean, about any popular IP now has a role play to it, some tabletop version. I mean, even Lord of the Rings now has,
Right.
Has role playing. I saw that, GI Joe. I saw there's you mentioned Marvel, but there's a slew of superhero ones. And then what was the other? And Transformers. I saw Transformers a while back, and I said, this is really crazy. You know, this has changed so much from, it's this off market, off kind of hobby that was definitely not mainstream has become has pretty much mainstream now.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, what game do you play? It's starting to get to that point, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And most people are still like, oh, I play Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
or I play one of the versions of Paizo stuff, Pathfinder, Starfinder.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, those are a nice little gateway into some of these other more obscure things.
Oh yeah, and then and I know a lot of this is due to the popularity of certain shows that have been out there for a few years.
I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
no show, huh?
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be a big bang that kind of caused all of this to happen. A couple of little things like that have played a really critical role in this. Development.
You're so subtle, so subtle. Yeah,
I am subtle like a fish. So. Yeah, it really has, and it's crazy. And as much as I love it, what's funny is I got to play it more when it was a niche thing than I did when it's popular.
Right? Isn't that weird? I joke that now what I do is I collect role. I might not get to play them, but I collect them now.
Yeah.
And there's several that are coming out that I'm like, I would have played the crud out of that. There's this one that's inspired by like this old I think it was a Swedish anime, if you can call it that, called Ulysses.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Heidi.
Heidi, yes, the Heidi role-playing game. It's great. It's going to be.
Will the grass grow today? I don't know.
Right. At some point, Max Headroom's gonna kick in for like about.
Oh my gosh, Max Headroom. I've got to work on that.
Yeah, must write Max Headroom RPG.
Well, no, I was thinking about this. It's like as I do this program, I get to do a lot of editing tricks and things like that. And I was trying to one day. I'm gonna do a Max Headroom. So we're talking about role playing and kind of going right into role playing. We're going to talk about SCARAB, the convention.
Yeah.
So I'm going to back us out just a little bit. So it's somewhat visible. Don't worry, it'll be the thumbnail. It'll be all sorts of stuff. I'm gonna make sure that you guys. I've already posted this on Nerd at Heart as well, but I'll repost it a little later. The event is going to be March 14th, 15th, and 16th. Correct?
It is
this year.
right.
Yes.
This year.
So. Which is super exciting, and it's going to be at the South Carolina State Museum, across from Adventure.